Hi guys, this is Bob. We're doing a sales training video for those of you that enjoy them. Those of you who don't, turn it off now. And that is the point of what we're doing here. I have my notes to the side. Try to ignore them, but feel free to look at them if you want to. For a change, I was able to get most of this hashed out. Some of it, as always, we're going to make up as we go. I'm going to cover a few different aspects. I'm going to focus on sales. I'm going to focus on marketing, and I'm going to try to deal a little bit with the blend of each of those and the psychology of the person. Remember, as always, if you do not understand psychology, you're going to struggle in sales. If you do, you're going to be quite good at it because it is how people think and work, and that's the nature of sales. Otherwise, your retail price, your 7-Eleven with a sticker on a candy bar, and you're counting on somebody else to figure out what to price that at. So you need to study those things a little bit. Go to TED.com and watch some of their deals. Any of that stuff. Continue to feed your mind and your education in those areas. Now, we're going to focus a little bit first on farmers and gardening. Once upon a time, in this little image we're going to create of history, I don't necessarily believe it, but I like the image, there were these lovely little cavemen. And these cavemen were what we used to call, and if I spell wrong, that's just me, hunter-gatherers. Now, little caveman decided he wanted to eat, and so he went out looking until he found something. Now, this wasn't bad. You have this massive place. It's kind of like my ancestors, the American Indians. They had it, sorry if I offend some of y'all, they're also Indians. They had it pretty easy. They got up in the morning, they walked somewhere around a quarter mile, they found a whole bunch of corn growing wild, they took it home and they ate it. Life was good. Okay? Hunter-gatherer got up, he walked around, he found something he knew he could eat, and he'd pick it. And he'd get his little piece of wheat or whatever that represents, and he'd eat. If he wanted some meat, he'd go and shoot it. Little deer, got our antlers in our body, and boom, we got dinner. And that was how a hunter-gatherer survived. Then one day, somebody was doing pretty well, and his family got too big, and he was really having to walk farther than he wanted to find the food. And all of a sudden, he noticed, you know, that one I didn't pick, that ear of corn fell down, and a whole bunch of other ears grew. Well, I'll be a son of a buck. These little things I eat are seeds, and they grow into another plant. So he had the idea, what the heck, I'll go down here by the stream, and I'll plant a few of these. And all of a sudden, we had our very first farmer. Because he discovered it was easier to cultivate the crops than just go hunt them. So, thus nature comes. And likewise, we found ranchers. It was easier to breed your livestock and have them in your backyard than to keep wandering farther and farther afield to get to them. When there's no population, the demand is high, they're replacing the breeds and everything faster than you can get there. Life is good. Life is easy. Hunter-gatherer is how you go. When you start growing and you start getting more, when the demand for the need is greater than the other, you got to become a agrarian society. It's been a while since I went to school. You got to become a farmer. Now, for those of you questioning marketing, I don't have the money, I don't have whatever. That's what marketing is. It's what advertising is, guys. Most of you have been living as a hunter-gatherer. Hunter-gatherer says, I bought a You Build It franchise, I've started what I'm doing, and there's a pin-up demand. There's 200 homes built in my 150-mile radius that I can cover a month. Of that, there's 3 or 4 people desperately want somebody to do what I provide. One of those is going to hunt me out, or in other words, I got up in the morning, I wandered around until I found the food I wanted, or the deer laying there waiting for me to shoot him, and boom, there's dinner. Hunter-gatherer living is relatively easy. Hunter-gatherer living can survive with no marketing. Do a home show, drive a branded truck, have a sign on your building. If you have these minimums, if you just have a minor presence on the internet, you're going to pick up those 3 or 4 contracts a year. But it doesn't get any more. You've got to commit. You got to advertise. You got to plant some dadgum seeds. Now here is where we get into a couple of quirks. Number one, and I'm going a little bit off the side for a moment, is the old classic, we got storm clouds, and guess what? Winter is coming. And we get what in winter? We have nothing. The field's dead. There ain't no crops growing. There ain't no crops planted. It's wintertime, and we are hungry. Here's the classic problem for people living on the plains. We're starving. And over here in the shed, we got our little bag of seed. We have our seed corn. Now, do I starve to death or do I eat my seed? Because if I eat my seed, at least I didn't starve to death in the winter. But I'm going to starve to death in the spring. Or I'm going to become a wide-ranging hunter-gatherer, hoping and praying I can get lucky and find enough to keep my family and my farm still alive. And I'm going to suffer nonstop. And every time I find a little, we're so hungry because we're so desperate for what we have that I'm just not going to set any aside to plant, and I'm going to keep eating everything I get in. And a lot of y'all are sitting there going, I'm going to kill Bob Braudrick because you're not allowed to step into my wheelhouse. And I get it. I know I'm stepping on some toes. I've been there, guys. I'm not so arrogant to say I haven't been. You got to get disciplined. You got to be willing to go hungry for a few days. You got to be willing to proverbially fast. You got to plant some dadgum seed. No way around it. Absolutely have to. And if you're starving and you've eaten all your seed and you got nothing and you go out and you get lucky and you find a few ears of corn, don't eat. Eat what you absolutely have to and plant as much of it as you can. Put it back in. You got to get the crops going. Advertising the seed. You got to. What we require is very, very small. And I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of you are, oh, I can't come up with $1,500 a month. I feel guilty. I really do. But the weird thing is, not for why you think. I feel guilty that I'm only telling you $1,500. Because I don't know if $1,500 a month is enough to even keep you open. $1,500 a month is at best a contract a month. It should theoretically average a contract a month, but honestly I think in some cases it's going to be just a contract every other month. And I'm not sure that just one contract a month is enough to justify. I really worry that I should be requiring somewhere between $3 and $5 grand as an absolute minimum for advertising. But for those of y'all having a heart attack, that's not going to happen. I'm just saying, I hurt when you hurt. I hurt when you're out of seed. But trust me, my guilt is over only requiring $1,500 a month minimum. You need to be spending more. You need to remember your numbers. I'm going to jump off topic again for a second to refresh everyone. National average is 10 to 1. There is variation whether it's 10-3-1 or whether it's 10-4-1, but the national average, and it holds up strong, and it has for 20 years of numbers, is 10 leads equals 1 sale. Now the rule is 10 leads equals 4 presentations equals 1 sale. Some people run 10-3-1. However yours does, it doesn't matter. 10 to 1 holds. Now, and this is going to get relative to the other, you got to remember this is all a pipeline. 10 leads today does not mean a sale today. 10 leads consistently every month for 6 months will equal 6 sales. All got to stay and it's got to flow. Okay? Likewise, the national average is $165 a lead. So honestly, some people, absolute worst is $300 a lead. Absolute best is $125 a lead. We work off of an average of $150 to $165. So theoretically, if you want to sell 1 a month, you need to spend $1,500 a month in marketing. That will get you 10 leads and equal 1 sale if you work it correctly. If you want to get 2, you need to spend $3,000. If you're in one of the rougher areas and your marketing's harder, or let's be perfectly frank at it, you just suck at it and you keep putting your money into bad holes, or you keep paying too much for what you have, so it's going to take you this, then 1 sale, 10 leads is $3 grand. Figure that math and figure out how much seed you have to plant in order to grow the crops that you want to grow. Okay? Now, here's the last thing I want to go over on this very intriguing little topic. And this is the death knell of the majority of people. Everyone thinks that they plant a little seed. And they get to watch it. And then the little seed does what? It starts to germinate. The little seed germinates a little more. And then you get that little sprout. And then that little sprout grows up a little more. And then it grows up and starts to get a little bushy. And then at the end, you have all of your wonderful fruit or corn, which is a majority of the analogy we've been having. Most people that grasp that advertising is planting seeds think that I planted my seed and tomorrow I need to be picking my fruit. Doesn't work that way, guys. In all sincerity, crops in reality grow quicker than your seeds do. So you can't go out there and say, well, I'm not going to advertise. I can't advertise. My God, I did it. I put that money in there and I was on that radio for 1 month. Hell, I was on it. I stayed committed. I was on there for 2.5 months. I did it for 10 weeks and we never got anything. Holy crap, you know what you did? Is you planted your seeds and it was right here and you hadn't even had a sprout shoot up and you went and plowed over your whole field. And you dug everything up. And you're telling me it doesn't work? Good golly, you killed them. You killed what you had. You did throw your money away. When you say I threw my money away, you're absolutely right. You did. You absolutely took your money and threw it in the trash. Because you planted crops. They were doing the way crops were created to do. The seeds were growing exactly like they're supposed to. And you got frustrated because they were here and you wanted them here, so you went and killed them all. Yeah, you're right. You did throw your money away. Yeah, you're right. Your advertising doesn't work. You're absolutely right. And I'm not being a jerk here. I may be a little bit, but I'm not mean to be. But you're telling the truth. It doesn't work for you. But it doesn't work because you killed your dang crops before they could grow. Stick to it. Those of you that come to me and say, well, how about if I just do, $5 grand every 4 months? No. No. You got to plant. You got to water. You got to weed. You got to fertilize. You got to be consistent. It's a pipeline, people. It takes time. And yes, the analogy can start to fall apart, but you get my point. You got to do it all the time. Whatever you do, it takes at least 6 months. And if you get lucky and you get that bizarro seed that somehow had some genetic defect and you planted a whole lot of seeds and these are all doing exactly what they're supposed to and one of them shot up, thank goodness you had a genetic defect. Praise God that you got a sale month 1. But don't decide that that's what advertising is supposed to do. It's supposed to take time so that every month you're harvesting crops. But you got to let them build. You got to get in there and you've got to have a plan. I don't care if your plan stinks. I don't care if you're a terrible farmer. You got to plant something. Look, there's one guy that plants and he gets 10 times the yield that you do. Right? He has a better field. Right? He's better at farming. He gets more rainfall. Don't sit there and cry over the fact he's got better. Make yours work. Used to be the old story about Grandpa, man. I mean, he was out there sharecropping some land up the road here, and it was mostly rocks. Well, it stunk. You know what he did? He had more children so that he could take better care of the land. There were 9 of them poor kids running around. I hear the stories about my dad out there moving rocks around the field when he was still in his diaper. I mean, that was part of it. You have more kids. You do what you got to do and you get by. And you push through. Enough on that end. But you have to watch your seed content and everything else. Now, I'm going to go over some sales techniques briefly on dealing with individuals for those of you that have stayed with me. I was listening to one of my few different tapes in the last week and trying to pull together some things that I at least found fascinating to share with you. One is a truth that you already know, but if you've forgotten it, I want you to hold to it. People don't like change. People stay consistent. Think of an old physics lesson. Remember, a body in motion stays in motion the same way it's going. People are exactly the same. Now, the one I did steal from it that I found absolutely fascinating is people will stay consistent mentally with their perception of themselves. The way you perceive yourself, you're going to act consistently to that. On a conscious and subconscious level, the way you perceive yourself, you're going to act persistent to. Here's an equally tragic but fascinating thing. You know how most people find their perception of themselves? Others. In other words, most people define themselves based on how they think others perceive them. It isn't necessarily how others do perceive them, it's how they perceive them. Or if you want to self-analyze to the extent this is true of you, the way you perceive others perceiving you defines your personal self-image, and you will act accordingly. You will act accordingly. Now, what does this mean? It means when you get somebody in your office and your ego's so big and you're a custom builder and well, it's hard to build your own house, they're going to act accordingly. You have just said to that person, it's hard to build your own house. You got to really know what you're doing. You got to really know your stuff to be able to do this. He perceives me as not being able to do this. He's the only person that could do this. Only a builder could handle it. I don't see myself as being able to handle this job. I'm going to act persistent to that belief. But you walk in and you're like, this is cool. With this You Build It program, it's amazing. You can do this. You've got this. If there's a problem, I got your back. Well, I mean, he perceives me as being competent. He perceives me as able. He perceives me as being able to do it. I'm going to judge myself as well. This really is easy. This really is cool. This really is something I can do. And I am going to act consistent to that belief. I'm not going to take this into major areas. If you want to, it's fun. Again, psychology is very cool and psychology is very relevant. I'm dealing just in this area. Very, very, very small little bit of this great big pie I want you to focus on. If your personality gets them to perceive themselves based on how they think you perceive them, doesn't matter if you don't. Doesn't matter if you're, Bob, I perceive every one of them do it. I know how damn good I am. I got them. Nah, you need to think how you make them about themselves. Most people are freakishly insecure animals. Matter of fact, we all are. Some of us have learned to overcome it some. You need to think of every one of your clients as the most insecure, fat, pimple-faced 13-year-old boy to ever walk the face of the earth. Okay? I don't care what girls say about themselves, they lie. You know how I know? Because we lie. Nothing more insecure than a 13-year-old boy. Going through the change, he wants to have a girlfriend, he looks like that. Trust me, that dude is messed up. And he is trying to act in a way he thinks is manly, yada, yada. I'm sorry, I said I wouldn't go too far down that road. You need to realize that client is that little insecure kid. And the way he thinks you view him, Coach Johnson, Principal Wilson, Uncle Bill, whatever, is the way he is going to view himself. Get that. So if you, in your accident, make that client doubt their ability, they're going to act accordingly. It's going to be a tough sale. If you make them think they got it, and don't worry about the fact that you tie yourself to it. They'll do that. Don't make your ego have to, you got it, but only with me there to back you. They'll take care of that step. There's a reason they're in your office. You need to have them perceive themselves that you perceive them as being able to do this. Confidence is everything. Flip chart, new flip chart, old flip chart, steps, confidence is everything. Because that person is going to act according to that belief. That person is going to leave your office and call a lender to find out if they qualify for a loan. Because their belief, deep in here, knows they can do this. They're going to act accordingly. They're going to follow that track. Make that a very important step in how you put things forth. I'll even go so far, and here I'm going to get a little bit weirder on you. Your office needs to promote that. The way your office looks, the way it's laid out, the way your desk is, even the way you dress, to the snacks you have forward, to the drinks you provide, all need to help support that belief. Make it comfortable. Make them at home. Make them secure and feeling in control so they can go that way. If you give them insecurity in another way, then that could be hindering the message you're trying to get across. All of these aspects matter. Okay, just a second. Let me check my notes, see if there's something else I want to cover. Ooh, I love this. And this will be the end because this has been a long one and I apologize for this. Statistic done. Again, study psychology. It's a fascinating thing. And this supports what we were just talking about. That's why I'm trying to use it. I hope I can pull it together. There's a neighborhood. Big, big neighborhood. It's one neighborhood, one of those classic exact demographics. Almost everybody in here is 34 years old, young parent, college educated, household income 70 grand, blah, blah, blah. School went in and did a test. And they split it in half so it would be consistent and the demographics the same. So this does holds up. And they wanted to put a great big, hideously ugly sign in their yard. And it said, drive carefully, or drive safely, whatever it was. And they went and asked everyone in this neighborhood, hey, can we put this sign in your yard to encourage safe driving in our neighborhood, our kids, blah, 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 blah. 17% said yes. But they went to this neighborhood and they went with a little 3-inch sign that said, safe driving neighborhood. And asked them, hey, can we put this little sticker in one of your windows just to encourage safe driving and keeping the kids safe? This is not obtrusive. This is no big deal. 96% said yes. Here's the fascinating thing. After 3 months, they went back to this neighborhood and said, can we put a big sign, big ugly sign in your yard that says drive carefully or safely or whatever? 76% said yes. For those of you that had a light bulb go off and you get my point, bless you. For the rest, I will try to pull this together, but it's just such a beautiful thing, it's hard to describe. 76%. Why? They'd started on a path. It was consistent. An object in motion stays in motion in the direction it is going. And the law is more complicated. Sorry, those of y'all that know Newton, please send me the email and make fun of me. I welcome it. Itty bitty step got them persistent that way. Why do we do our step sales the way we do? I don't want you to commit to building a house with me. Just ask me some information. I don't want you to commit to asking for a loan and working on plans. Take my information. Pay attention to it. I don't need you to start closing on an $800,000 house. Come by. Let's sit down and chat and look at your plan, see what can be done. Let me give you some free information. No hassle. I don't need you to sign a contract. Just verify you can get a loan and that you're happy with it. You don't have to close on your loan yet. Let's just sign the paperwork and get started on your plan. 3-inch sign, 6-inch sign, boom. It's the purpose. It's the flow. Make it easy. If you go for the big hit, it hurts. People stay consistent. Take advantage of it. Use it. And it's not mean. It's not rude. It's helping to share a little bit of love. You're just using human emotion in the way it needs to go and flow. Hope this was helpful. Thank y'all very much. See you very soon at convention. Thanks, guys.